if you have negative belief systems, maybe you have some childhood trauma, maybe you have some complex trauma, a lack of confidence if there's something you really want, maybe you're waking up with that anxiety in the morning, you're not sure what to do with these lingering emotions. They haunt you, they plague you, they follow you. Nothing you are doing is working. I can absolutely promise you that if you follow these 4 steps, you can't not experience change. It's like a way to hack into remembering the truth of how to align the mind, the emotions, and the body. Because once that clicks into place, and you channel that information into your external life, everything just starts to change really rapidly and in really positive ways. My name is Kate Colley. I am a hypnotherapist and inner child work specialist. And believe it or not, I have been working with people's negativity, traumas, negative emotions for 19 years. You might be thinking, I look so young. How is that possible? I actually started seeing clients when I was 16. I had an awakening at a very young age and realized that all of the information to do any healing, whether that be physical, emotional, or spiritual, actually exists in the body. And it was such a powerful realization that I started studying energy healing, and I started working with clients on the weekends, even when I was in high school. So in the 19 years, I have been learning about, reading about, studying classes, seminars, doing my own internal healing work, as well as helping others. In fact, I currently work at a drug and rehab center here in Los Angeles. There are very, very simple steps that it takes to truly heal what we consider to be negativity in our body. I see a lot of people, I see a lot of coaches, I see a lot of even therapists out there giving misinformation and things that are very counterproductive to how the body actually truly rewires a pattern. It doesn't matter how long it's been there, and how the body actually alchemizes negative emotions into its expanded form. And so if you've watched my videos before or listened to my podcast, you do hear me say a lot that I am not a huge fan of positive affirmations. I am not a huge fan of sticking with this mindset where you're just focused on manifesting, where you're just focused on the positive. There's a time and a place for those things, but it is so overused as a reaction that we all have in our animal programming to constantly run away from pain and toward pleasure at all costs. And that's really the distinction that we're going to get into. That's like the main thing that people miss. But I'm going to break it down for you in 4 really simple, actionable steps that you can literally start using today. And I'm going to give you all of my hacks to transform your life actually in a way that works, where it's not just based on willpower and trying harder, but it's also not just based on talking about it or meditating or doing emotional alchemy work on the inside. It's the collaboration of where the conscious, the subconscious, and the unconscious all meet, and how you can create really fast, really radical change in your life. If you have negative belief systems, maybe you have some childhood trauma, maybe you have some complex trauma, a lack of confidence if there's something you really want, maybe you're waking up with that anxiety in the morning, you're not sure what to do with these lingering emotions. They haunt you, they plague you, they follow you. Nothing you are doing is working. I can absolutely promise you that if you follow these 4 steps, you can't not experience change. It's like a way to hack into remembering the truth of how to align the mind, the emotions, and the body. Because once that clicks into place and you channel that information into your external life, everything just starts to change really rapidly and in really positive ways. So if you want to take notes, now would be a good time to start, because we're going to start with step number 1. And step number 1 is acceptance. And I know that that's probably like a cliche, overused word. I don't mean it in terms of probably how you are imagining acceptance to be. Acceptance is not something that you try to do. Acceptance is not something that you have to bulldoze yourself into liking something. Acceptance is not from your willpower. Acceptance is actually in alignment with the greater energy at play. It's almost like a little bit of faith or a belief that if this is happening, there must be some reason for it. It's a belief that nothing is really random. Everything has a certain order to it, right? Like the example that I often give is like if you look out in nature and you see a sidewalk and there's grass growing through the sidewalk. If you imagine that piece of grass, it's not sitting there thinking, fuck this. I'm so mad that there's Britain put this sidewalk over it. I'm going to stop growing, or I'm going to stop reproducing myself. I'm going to stop expanding more into the light of who I am as a grass blade, because the grass blade is just meant to grow. It's meant to grow and spread its seed. It has a purpose. It doesn't allow external circumstances to thwart its growth and separate from itself. This is what we do as humans because we have a prefrontal cortex. But the grass blade doesn't do that. The grass blade is in an actual state of full acceptance. It's in a state of not resisting that the sidewalk is over it, and it actually just keeps growing. And the other example I like to use is if you were to imagine wherever you are that there is some type of computer off into the distance, maybe on the other side of the room or just somewhere away from you that you can't reach it. And let's say the computer is broken. Let's say that the computer needs attention. It needs discernment. It needs your awareness in order to be fixed. Maybe there's like a wire that has snapped in half that really just needs you to connect that wire back together. You cannot sit here on your ass, look at the computer, be like, oh, I'm so mad that the computer's broken. I really wish it would go away, and hope and pray that it just gets fixed. And say to yourself, I accept that it's broken. I accept that it's broken. I just want it to be fixed. Because you're still in reactionary programming. You're still in that reactionary animal programming of like, I just want to move away from something uncomfortable and towards something that's pleasurable so that I don't have to deal with this pain. In the computer example, you would actually have to get off of your butt. You would have to walk over to the computer, which requires full acceptance. It requires you to accept that, hey, there's a wire that's broken. It doesn't require your anger, because as soon as you're in anger, you're not even going to be able to find the wire. You're going to be too frustrated. It requires the presence, the love, the attention, and the curiosity. Okay, anytime we're in curiosity, we are leaving animal programming and we're coming into our spiritual, human, full consciousness programming, full curiosity. You can't fake this shit. Walk over to the computer, you're in full acceptance, and then you can actually start to get curious. I wonder where the wires are broken. Oh, here it is. I can actually put it together. So that is the very, very first step. If you are not in full acceptance to what is happening, which is a state, not a willpower, it's almost like you're still sitting on your butt and your hands aren't actually in the computer yet. You haven't actually walked over to that broken computer yet. You're watching it from afar, secretly hoping that the problem is just going to go away. The problem is not going to go away. The problem needs your full awareness. And, as we'll talk about in the other steps, it's not actually a problem. It is a gift for you. It is something greater than you or your higher self or your highest, expansion of your neurology, however you want to phrase it, that works for you. That is a gift that is giving to you where you are fragmented, where something inside of you has been thwarted, where you have dismembered from parts of yourself, whether that be physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, right? We don't know. But that's where the curiosity comes into play. So after step one, after you have found this state of acceptance, the next step is to actually feel the negative feeling in your body. And people get a little bit confused around this step. I'm going to break it down for you so it's really, really simple. A lot of times people will speak about feelings and it's actually not feelings. It's actually the story that they have created around the feelings. So there's an enmeshment inside of an individual where the thoughts and the stories and the belief systems, oh, I must be fucked up, I must be wrong, I must be this person sucks, this shouldn't be happening, why is this happening, why is this always happening to me, right? This story that we've created in our head, which I'm sure we can all relate to, is enmeshed into the felt sense in the body. Because a very important distinction to remember is that your thoughts are entirely made up. Your thoughts, your belief systems, the meaning you place on everything in your life is literally entirely made up. Now, we can come up with useful meanings And then we can come up with non-useful meanings. And it's the non-useful meanings, like, why does this always happen to me? That is a reaction to your past. It is something that has happened in the past, either one event or a series of events that has caused you to internalize a representation of reality in your mind that you just continue to draw from because you haven't walked over to the computer yet. So that's the mind. The mind and the thoughts and the logic and the meaning, it comes from the same part of our brain, the literal same structure that has the ability to lie. Animals in the wild, they do not have the ability to lie. People, we do have the ability to lie. That's the shadow side. The light side is we also have the ability to write poetry and create art and express ourselves in new and interesting and unique ways and create meanings on things that are so juicy and interesting so we can live into our hero story. Same part of the brain, one's in the light side and one is in the shadow side. So when you're feeling into your body, you are feeling a physical kinesthetic, right? We have 5 senses. One of the senses is kinesthetic. There is a kinesthetic sensation to every feeling in the body, and it has no meaning. There is no meaning to the kinesthetic sensation in the body. The kinesthetic sensation in the body simply exists right now. It is what is here, currently, and present. So if I have a uncomfortable emotion, let's say I am sad, right? And what happens is I will feel that sadness. And it's actually the limbic system, that's the emotional body, that responds first. I will feel maybe like that sinking feeling in my heart, or that kind of tightness or that heaviness. Maybe it feels like a fluttering in my chest, right? So somewhere in your body, you're going to feel a feeling. A fraction of a second later, because the conscious mind, the human part of our brain, needs to make sense of everything, it will feel that feeling. And the logic mind goes, okay, well, what do I do with this? What does this most resemble of what has happened to me in the past? Pulls out that filing cabinet, places the meaning that most resembles it, drops it on, and then the two become a mesh, and it creates this feedback loop where I feel something, but my brain is telling me a story that is non-useful, that is a lie, and that story creates more of that feeling, which reinforces it, and then the feeling gets bigger, which reinforces the thought, and we spiral in this until we have an identity. It's so important. Until we have an identity around, well, this must be who I am. This is not who you are. This is just all programming. This is the computer with the broken wires. So that's why the second step is so important, because you have to start unwinding and pulling apart and knowing that, hey, the thoughts aren't real. The thoughts are made up, but the felt sense in the body is real. So what I like to do, and this is the hypnotherapist in me, is that when you have that trigger, you accept it, you walk over to the computer. The next step to feel it is to imagine that your brain is dropping into your body. And it's almost like you just do a body scan where first impression, because that's always the correct information. That's how you access your subconscious. First impression, where do I feel this in my body? And you take your hand and you place it there, right? So I might place it over my chest. I might place it over my forehead. I've seen people place it over their hands. It might be over your genitals. It might be over your womb. It might, or your second chakra area, your chest. It doesn't actually matter. You don't have to overthink this step, but you place your hands over the part of your body where you feel that sensation. And as your brain is dropping into that part of your body, you can start to describe the sensations for yourself. Now, most people like to do this with their eyes closed. They find it a lot easier to enter that state. However, I will say this, if you have severe ADD or ADHD, a lot of times they like to keep their eyes open, and sometimes they like to move around, and it actually helps them get deeper. So once you start describing that sensation, you can ask questions like, is it a certain color? Is it moving or still? And it's really just allowing you to have full acceptance and to get closer to that feeling in your body. Okay, so once you've done that, the third step is to find the gold within the feeling. And this step it's probably, just heads up, the most elusive step out of all of the 4 steps. The other 3 steps are like really just like straightforward. This one takes a little bit more creativity, potentially some imagination, some working with it. There's no real framework I can exactly give you because it's different for everyone. It's different for every emotion. It's different for every person, circumstance, and all of that. But to find the gold in the emotion, we have to understand that the body will never produce an emotion against you. The body, in fact, will never produce any behavior, any thought, anything against you. The body is actually a self-preserving organism. at all times. There is nothing outside of that. There is a reason and a positive intention for absolutely everything. Now, sometimes we have to take a real good hard look at it and bring it down several layers deeper to find, okay, well, what is the positive intention behind this non-useful behavior? But I can guarantee 100% certainty there is a reason that your body produces everything. So with that knowledge, there's a reason, there's gold within that uncomfortable sensation. And the uncomfortable sensation, because we are hardwired to very much pay attention to pain, the uncomfortable sensation is like the bubble wrap. That's like the bubble wrap or the gift wrap, and it's all wrapped around this gold that is in the middle. So you getting off your ass, walking to the computer and starting to be really curious and then feeling into your body is actually you reaching your hands into the system of the computer where the change can actually happen. If you're not in your body, the change cannot happen. It will remain a mental construct and it will fuck you up over time even more so. This is why this step is so important. The gold in the midst of that bubble wrap is always one of three things. The gold you will find is always one of three things. It is either a repressed truth or a desire. Okay, desire is so important because authentic desire always fuels consciousness. It is a boundary, right? Some kind of authentic boundary that we've disembodied from, or it is an unmet need. Okay. It's always going to be one of those three things. Again, this is the most elusive step. So I do have an insane amount of information on all of this, plus hypnosis, plus meditation, plus like literally detailed every step of how to do this in my course that I will link below. In this video, I'm just giving as much as I can to you so that it can become actionable today. But the gold is always going to be one of those three things. So as you're feeling into that part of your body and you're getting really curious, you're looking for the gold. You're having a conversation with that feeling. You're getting really curious about like, well, why is that feeling here? The example that I like to give here is like if you had a baby and the baby was crying, right? Your first reaction most likely would not be like, oh shit, something's wrong. I better close the door. I don't want to hear this. I'm freaking out. Something's wrong. You know, if you did that, you would close the door. The baby would still be in its crib crying. And then you'd be like, oh shit, I still hear the baby. Let me close the door. Oh shit, let me close the door again. Oh shit, let me close the door again. You would have to close so many doors, distance yourself from something that you love so many times where you're not even aware of what that baby needs. The baby is just alone, and eventually the baby stops crying because the baby goes, well, okay, I guess my needs aren't met. Let me form an identity around myself to protect myself from the pain of not having my needs met. This is what we do internally. So instead, this third step of finding the gold is actually being like, the baby's crying. Baby must need something. It's neutral. It's not good or bad. Of course, babies fucking need shit. You open the door, then you open the door, you open the door, you get close to the baby, you have intimacy with the baby, you bring the baby close, right? Instinctually, we know this. You pick up the baby, you look at the baby, you hold the baby, and you're like, okay, well, what does it need? Is it too hot, too cold? Does baby need to be fed? Is baby hungry? Does baby need touch? Does baby need connection? And we can all look at this and be like, well, yeah, baby has needs. Well, we have needs too. We have physical needs, emotional needs, mental needs, spiritual needs. But we pretend as if we don't have those needs. And anytime you feel a negative sensation, it could be telling you with the gold within that negative sensation that you have a need, right? That you have a repressed truth or desire, that you have a boundary, something. There's something that your body is trying to communicate to you. Once you get to the gold, which is this process of you connecting with that feeling in a very specific kind of particular way of opening it up and vivifying it and really bringing it to life and loving the fuck out of it in a way where you don't have to like it, but you love it because you see it, you have intimacy with it, you bring it closer to you. You'll notice, and you have to wait for this. Okay, don't go to step 4 until you do this one pinnacle thing. This is like the thing that will bring you to step 4. The thing you must wait for is there must be a kinesthetic, that's felt sense, feeling sensation, shift in the body. When you're in a negative emotion, when you're in a trigger, that emotion vibrates really, really slow on your body. So if you imagine like A scale of emotions. At the very, very, very bottom of that scale, we have powerlessness. That's like vibrates really slow. And then above that, we have shame. And then we have, like grief and fear. And it kind of keeps going up. Anger. In the middle, you have neutrality. And it keeps going up until you have the yummy emotions like joy and love and expansion, the ones that we all try to like hold on to. And then we run away from the bottom ones. When you have that negative emotion, it just means that there's stuck energy there. When you find the gold, let's say, let's use the sadness example. So let's say like I move into my sadness and I find that it's some kind of childhood complex trauma wound where I feel really sad, like I wasn't seen. Okay, right? So even saying that I feel a shift in my body, I desire authentically to be seen. That's beautiful. That's amazing. Now it's just moved up into a truth that I have. Truth exists far higher than sadness. When I feel that shift in my body of like, wow, this has been here all along because I desire to be seen. And there's a felt sense in the body that feels like expansion. It doesn't feel like contraction. It doesn't feel like sadness anymore. The sadness has alchemized. It has moved up that vibrational scale of emotions into something expansive. Now you're in flow of universe. You're in expansion. When I hit that expansive state, when I extract the gold, the fourth step is you must take action on the gold. Do not take action on the negative feeling. That's why you have to wait for the kinesthetic shift in your body. You take action on the gold. And the few guidelines I have about taking action on the gold will radically, literally change your life quickly and profoundly. If you take action when you've hit that gold, what happens emotionally in your body is you enter this thing called an emotional refractory period, which is that your body wants to hold on to emotional states for approximately, in a very heightened way, 20 minutes. It goes for negative states too. That's a different YouTube conversation. So when you hit that expansive state, all of a sudden, your awareness is not running through the neural pathways of sadness or anger or grief. It has actually expanded to look at the full horizon, the full opportunity, the full blessing of who it is that you are becoming, the full gift. You're in a different nervous system state and you have access to a different version of you. You literally have access to a different version of you. And this version of you in that 20-minute period has different ideas, different thoughts, different belief systems, a higher state of confidence, a higher state of embodiment, all of these beautiful, wonderful things. In that 20 minutes, ideally 20 minutes, if you can do it that day, that's workable too, but 20 minutes is the sweet spot. Take action on the gold that you found in a way that you cannot take back and that ideally disrupts either a kinesthetic or a visual sense in your world. Why? Because those two are the largest in most people, right? Visual and kinesthetic. So what I mean by that, and this is an example I always give, but again, in my course, I have a ton of other examples, is like you might go into your closet in that heightened state and get rid of the clothing that is not aligned to who you are becoming. Now, this hits up a bunch of different things because what happens is, let's say I'm like, oh shit, I've had these pants, I haven't worn them, for so many years and they have holes anyways, and not like the cute kind of holes with the jeans that we used to wear like in the 90s or something, like the yucky kind of holes. Or I have these socks, like why do I still have them? Or I have underwear from like when I was married, and I literally did at some point have underwear from when I was married. I've gotten rid of them. But you go through and you ask, from this vibrational state, from this place of expansion and empowerment, what no longer serves me? What is not coming with me? You might get rid of everything. You might take it, get it out of your home, sell it, whatever you do with your old clothes, donate it, rearrange your closet from that vibration. Because what happens is that novelty, the newness in the visual cortex that is attached to that kinesthetic state of expansion will hold you in integrity to who you are becoming, and it bypasses any need for willpower. Okay, willpower is a finite resource. Anyways, sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not, essentially. So now, every time I walk into my closet, I'm like, oh, basically like there's a part of my brain that goes, wait. I can't track this. I don't understand this. I suppose I must start rewiring who I am. I must start rewiring how I relate to myself, how I relate to my environment, how I relate to others, because I don't recognize this new closet. And it sounds silly, right? Because it's just a closet. And you can do this with anything. You can do this with furniture, with clothes, with drawers, with any kind of massive change. I've had people even be like, I know I'm going to apply for that job I've been avoiding, but I feel so expansive and I just feel like I want to apply for it, and they get the job. Like, that's happened actually quite a few times. Or I want to express a boundary to somebody from this expansive place, right? So that there's no judgment, there's no anger in the mix. It's that boundary. And that, when we talk about relational things and you take action on the gold in a relational sense, it doesn't necessarily disrupt the visual cortex, but it does disrupt the field in a way where it's like, you can't take that back. When you set that boundary, you express that love, or you open up that vulnerability, or whatever it is that you feel inspired to do, once you do it, you can't take it back. That person's nervous system had to shift to perceive you in a different way, and you are voting and weaving into your life in a way that you can't take back who it is that you are becoming. So those are the 4 steps. I hope that is helpful. I try to give you as much as I can. But again, if you want more information, I do take one-on-one clients, at least at this time that I'm recording this. I have some slots available. And I also have a course that is absolutely phenomenal. It'll walk you through not just these 4 steps, but it goes through every single thing that you need to remove all trauma from your body, whether that be shock trauma, complex trauma. Everybody has both, even if you don't remember it, because a lot of times like birth can be a trauma. And belief systems, how to use affirmations correctly. It goes into romance, relational wounds, attachment wounds, mother wounds, father wounds, inner child healing. It goes through every single system necessary to completely shift into who it is that you are actually meant to be, who it is that you truly are. And it's in a very systematic way. So that is in the description, and make sure you hit follow, and I hope to see you soon.